Hey, good evening, good evening, you guys.
Hey.
How's everybody doing tonight? Great. We are getting set up, getting in the studios again. This is Almond Brown. I always tell you, I just parked the spaceship outside, so leave the hazard lights on and jump in. We've got some special guests in tonight. So our normal crew, Headache, Wild Wild West, they are working tonight on the 9 to 5. So I've got some friends joining me this week. I've got good friend Renita. Go ahead and introduce yourself to the audience.
Yeah, hey everybody. My name is Renita Crawford. I'm so excited to be here. So Almond, thank you for the invitation. I love talking about current events, controversial events. My background, of course, is in journalism and news, having worked in the Augusta news market for about 15 years. So I'm excited to be here and lend my opinion slash a little bit of maybe expertise on some of our topics tonight. So thanks for having me.
Thank you. And I got another special friend joining us. I'm going to bring him in now. Here he is.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Renita. How are you?
Hey.
Mr.
You hear me?
Mr. Perry. Yes, we can hear you and see you, man.
Good.
How have you been?
Man, I'm doing good. Enjoying life, I guess.
I see that. Go ahead. Let everybody know your name and a quick introduction about yourself.
Well, I'm Ronnie Perry, and I'm from Augusta, Georgia. Been there all of my life. I went to high school with Renita, actually.
Butler
Bulldogs. That's it.
Right.
So I won't say what year, but my wife and I we transitioned to the Alpharetta, Atlanta area. I guess about 4 months ago in March. So we're kind of downsizing and semi-retiring and kind of enjoying life a little bit. So
Awesome.
That's the biggest thing. So
that's great.
But thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem. Thank you for joining, man. I know both of you personally, and really, I've always respected your insight and thoughts on things. Good reflection. Of level-minded, we're thinkers. You know what I'm saying? You really put. I've had great conversations with both of you. So, thank you for joining. Again, I want to mention everybody. Our regular guests are not here tonight, but we always really the driving force behind doing ShelfSpace is when we really want to encourage people to have conversations. We really talk a lot about self-improvement, mental health awareness, because we really want to encourage people to not fall into the idea that there's a stigma in going to seek counseling and getting help, and to try to carry a lot of the burdens on your own. I think maybe some of us all may have some stories that have happened during the pandemic of friends that we've had maybe fall into some depression or, just even our own selves. And so we just wanted to have an avenue to just encourage people. We're not professionals. I always, encourage them to use their local resources and reach out for help. So that's always the basis of it. But the good thing about that is the more we talk, the more we converse and get to know each other, man, that's always a form of mental health and self-improvement. So great to have.
Exactly.
Yeah. So before we get into the news, there's two topics that I know we're going to jump on, and that is the Little Mermaid and the Brett Favre and Shannon Sharp. Brett Favre scandal, but Shannon Sharp's very biting, cutting response to it. I thought he was great on that. But before we get into that, anything special either one of you been doing this week, a hobby or a book you've been reading, or just something that you can share with the audience that you do during your spare time? Go ahead, Ronnie. I'll let you go first.
No, let Renita go, because I don't have much. I don't do much reading. My attention span is short, so I do a lot of golfing and
Yeah, go ahead, Ronnie. Mhm.
Oh, I do a lot of golfing, and I run 2 companies, so that keeps me kind of busy there. So I'm just trying to enjoy life a little bit, and that's the biggest thing. So
Yeah.
watch a little news, So I keep up with what's going on in Augusta, and that's been big the last couple of days for sure. I don't want to change the subject matter, but
Right. Yeah.
big and scary.
Even
Yeah,
though you're not living here in the area, you got ties to the area. You've been here several
yeah, exactly.
times.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's been unfortunate, man. I'm not sure why there's been this rash of violence and the type of violence that it is. I don't, it's been troubling. So that's the
yeah.
least I can say to that. So go ahead, Renita, share a little bit about what
Yeah.
maybe you're into this week, and go ahead.
Sure. So I'm an empty nester. So my 2 daughters, one's in Atlanta and the other's in school in Miami. So it's just me. I work remotely Monday through Friday, but I recently joined a new community. It's the Black expat community. I talked a few shows ago about really wanting to, at some point, relocate abroad. And it's a great community. I was just really blown away at the number of African Americans and Blacks in general that are living abroad in just so many different countries. So I signed up for that. So I've just been kind of talking back and forth and meeting a lot of friends that are working abroad, like in Japan and Dubai and Costa Rica and Portugal. So it's just sort of a warm up to kind of see where I want to end up eventually. And there's a lot of reasons behind me wanting to move abroad. And that might be another topic for another show. It's called Blacksit, right? You heard of Blacksit?
Yeah.
Blacksit.
They're leaving the USA.
Okay.
A lot of Blacks are leaving the USA.
That's right. I've heard of that.
For a variety of reasons. But so that's what I've been kind of into. And then I've listened to a lot of podcasts on various topics. So I've kind of been doing that. A little bit of everything from artificial intelligence to kind of some of the new authors that are coming out and older authors, well, not older, but more seasoned authors like Octavia Butler, reading a couple of her books or starting to read. There's kind of a series, so I'm starting with the first one. But yeah, that's kind of my day. Just me right now.
Awesome. I see Headache is chiming in. I think
Headache is in, huh?
Oh Lord.
I've got to refrain from calling him head crack. I want to, but it's headache. I got to remember that.
Man, he's chiming in for work, so that's headache for that. And kind of if when you've had a conversation with them, depending on where you are, the issue, you may end the conversation with a headache. That's a good way to kind of remember him by it. But he's I can tell you about him that he's a good friend. He and I also went to high school together, graduated together.
That's good.
And we were what you call locker neighbors. Like our lockers were next door to each other. So right next to each other. So you can imagine what we do on ShelfSpace. Like this started like years ago, really. The conversations we've had at the locker, have been just crazy. So that's it. So great. I'm glad you guys shared that. And Renita, I'd like to, maybe like you said another time, share that information about expat. I mean, I've been on, some trips out of the country, and every now and then, you run into to somebody who is from the U.S. Many people, whether white, black, whatever, and then just always wonder how they got there. I met a couple once that were, I think it was in Costa Maya, and they ran the jet ski rental company there. Just rented it. Oh my God! I was like, you guys have the best job on the planet. It has to be. Weather's always good.
It doesn't require a lot of finances, I don't think, to live in other countries either.
Right.
In some countries, anyway.
Right. Yeah. Lots of opportunity there. Yeah. So So that's something.
And that's where I am.
Go ahead.
And that's where I am. The biggest thing now is just the biggest thing for me is peace of mind. I don't need $100 million. I just need peace of mind is what I need right now. So we're in empty nesters like Renita. So that's the big thing for us now. So
exactly.
Marty, can you believe we're saying that? Oh my gosh, we were just in high school 10, 15 years ago.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. But things were so different then than they are now. I tell you. Man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ronnie.
So
We've had that experience. Like Ronnie's kids and my kids played ball together, so we kind of saw
yeah,
them
yeah,
grow up, graduate,
yeah,
move on to other
yeah,
hobbies. And then I know for me, Ronnie,
exactly.
like we were spending so much time just investing in that, the trips, the
Yeah.
time at practice, the games, and
Oh
all
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And when it came to an end, it was kind of like, whoa, it really
That's
sunk
true.
in, right? Like,
Yeah.
what am I gonna
Yeah.
do,
That's
with
true.
all this time?
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, Chris and Renita, a couple of the players, anyway, we probably separated from them maybe 4 or 5 years ago, but some of those players still contact me,
Oh
for
yeah,
different reasons,
yeah,
so that's the biggest thing. That lets me know that I've made an impact in their life in some way.
right,
So that was a big thing for me. It was more about giving back to the community,
yeah,
so
yeah.
by
Because you
doing that.
continued on even after your son, wasn't playing. You
Yeah,
continued to be
yeah, I
involved. So
did.
yeah,
My wife kind of wondered why I was doing that. that was
yeah. But
That's my way of
I,
giving
I
back, I
I told my
guess.
wife the same thing. Like it's nothing like being out at a Walmart or Target or wherever, out shopping somewhere, and then you just you
Yeah,
hear a voice behind you say, "Hey, coach." And you turn around
yeah,
and there's someone that at a young age you were involved in their life, and whether
yeah,
they
yeah.
went on to continue playing or not, the impact that, like you said, that you had on them, you see they're just
Exactly.
whatever it is they're into. um
Hmm.
that's almost, that's priceless, really. So
It is.
okay.
It really is.
All right,
Yeah.
awesome. All right, Headache said keep his seat warm. So we'll try to. Headache. We
It's
call him the,
season.
yeah, we call him the toxic Avenger a lot of times when
Yeah.
we
Perfect name.
when we talk about relationships. So okay, let's open up this topic here. Brett Favre,
Okay.
um, and let me say hello to Bridget, BJ Jackson, watching tonight. What's up, Bridget? Leave a comment. If you got a either show topic or any comment on the topic that we're getting ready to jump into now. But Brett Favre, NFL quarterback, Hall of Famer, all kinds of records. Beloved by a lot of NFL fans, is now caught up in NFL fans is now caught up in a really nasty scandal to the tune of
Yeah. Yeah.
$77 million. Okay,
Is that what it is? 77 mil?
$77 million of
Oh.
allegedly he's caught up in this scheme
Mhm.
now, of
Yeah.
basically government money that was earmarked for welfare,
Yeah. Medicaid
whatever,
recipients.
right,
Yeah.
welfare programs.
Mhm.
And
Hmm.
he siphoned off that money, again allegedly, for a, what was it, a volleyball stadium at
Volleyball
his alma
stadium.
mater.
Volleyball. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
At his daughter's school. Yeah.
Okay. At his daughter's school. That's right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mississippi State. Yeah. And
Okay.
right on time. We've got our special guest. Bring her in. What? Now we're all complete. Now we got our other guest. Connie's on.
Hey,
Connie joined
Connie.
in.
Okay. Great.
What's up,
Hey,
Connie?
Connie.
Hey,
Hi.
hey, how y'all doing?
Good.
Good.
How are
Doing great.
you? Can I say one thing? Can I say one
Yes,
thing,
ma'am.
Chris or
Yeah.
Almond? Connie, I have been meaning to tell you. You remind me so much, and you look like Gabrielle Union.
Yes, she
Wow,
does.
Connie, how about
I see
that?
that.
Whoa,
I can see
Connie, how
that.
about that one?
I so see it. I'm like, oh my God, I've been meaning to tell you that. The smile,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mannerisms, everything.
Thank you.
And of course,
Yeah.
she's
Thank you.
beautiful. So I just want to. Have you heard that before? Have you heard that
Somebody,
before? Uh-huh.
somebody might have. I was like, nah,
You
something like that.
do.
Uh-huh.
Look, I've known
Yeah.
Wow.
Connie for years, but now that you say it,
Have you?
now that
Yeah.
you say it, oh my God. And I've
You
known
can
her for
see it.
years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, awesome.
That's great.
Connie, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining.
Mm.
I do have a new mic, so like I said, let me know something else too. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So it's
Okay.
it's sounding a little better. It still sounds like it's cutting out a
Just
little
short it
bit.
a little bit.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
cutting out a little bit. So
Okay.
if there's an adjustment you can do, you're good, or move it closer. One of the ones. But you're doing good. Want to say what's up to Dawn. Thank you, Dawn. Dawn's always tuning in. Love you, Dawn. Thank you for supporting and watching. What's up, Liz? Thank you for jumping in. Tune in. You're gonna laugh. You're gonna hear some things. That may upset or maybe not. But leave a comment. So Connie, we were just about to get into Brett Favre. And you don't know how much of an NFL fan you are, but a lot of in the news is really not about the sport, but about him being involved in a scandal. $77 million from a welfare fund for the state of Mississippi. He's being accused of siphoning off diverting that money or getting it diverted over to a volleyball stadium at his alma mater. And as more information is coming out, he definitely is involved in it. There have been some text messages now that have have out and hit the news. And one of the most really cutting and biting responses to it was Shannon Sharp on his show Undisputed. I believe that's what the name of the show is, with him and Skip. Right. And so I wanted to get your thoughts on that, because I really thought he went right to the heart of the injustice of it. Yeah. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Oh no. Well, I'll tell you this part. I've been working with Medicaid for like close to 30 years. So those recipients of Medicaid, they are low income. And in the past, I've gone into their homes and I've been able to see that, kind of keep myself grounded.
Right.
So for him, like Shannon was saying, to steal from the underprivileged that's dramatic.
Inexcusable. Inexcusable.
Inexcusable. And he's got the money. He's made over 100 million.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you guys saw the news today. There's another huge scandal involving 47 workers. I believe they're state workers, or they're workers in Minnesota, funneling $250 million meant for meals for students. They set up these, allegedly set up these fake nonprofits and claim they're serving like 2,500 meals a day. Well, they didn't even have to do that. Yeah. So it's like, it's sort of like, power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Like,
yes.
People, I mean, it's just awful. It's deplorable what Favre is accused of doing and these other folks.
Yeah, like what you said, power corrupts and absolute power. Corrupt. Yes. Oh man. Connie, you had a comment?
I do not understand pull the funds from the people that are heartedly. I said, if you're capable, there's all this money, right? I see. Why don't you go ahead and market or is here for those people? If you know somebody, go ahead and do this instead of go ahead and taking it. I'm just saying to do good. Why don't you push for that good for this volleyball that somebody else probably has the money for any.
Brett Favre's got the money.
Brett Favre's
got the money. You're talking about a guy who played. You're talking about a guy who played well past his prime. Ronnie, he kept playing. He was going finding teams to still give him a contract. And
look, rich people don't keep their money because they spend their money. Okay, they don't.
But Connie, it's so easy for Brett Favre to have his agent to call up some big corporation and say, I want to sponsor a commercial for $100 million and just give that money to the school. It's so easy to do that. You and I couldn't do that, but he could.
Exactly, and that's what. Exactly.
The other thing
made his name look better. That's all I'm saying. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Renee?
What was I going to say? I lost my thought. Continue. It'll come back. What was I going to say?
Well, Ronnie was just mentioning like Brett Favre himself has the leverage to go out there and get the money without having to do that. What's coming out in these text messages and some of the reporting is that they were going to agree to pay him to do speeches and speeches that he didn't even make, but he
Yeah.
just went on to pay them. And so
Yeah.
in just my limited experience of dealing with so in some of my job capacities, I've dealt with bids for government work, county, city, whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
on the levels that I've been on, there are games that are played on the political side to win a bid. It's relationship building. It shouldn't be, but certain people have relationship with the person that is making the decision, or they have a relationship with the person who's writing the bid, and they help them prepare the language for the bid so that it comes out in their favor. That's what's coming out in these text messages. That person who working on that funding forum said he responds to them and says, "You need to change the wording." I know what that means. He basically right. They need that request to match up in a certain way so that it will meet compliance. They have slid it on through, and then that money gets cut to him. So absolutely what is coming out in these texts is true. He was basically misrepresenting what they're doing, had somebody on the inside helping him, and they diverted that money, which is a shame because he's got the money.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the text messages that he responded allegedly saying, is there any way the media will find out about this? So he
you
remember that one? Yeah.
You know what that means. Yeah.
Right. And I think it also speaks to the larger issue of classism. So the rich, they don't care about, the ultra uber rich, they don't care about the poor.
No.
I mean, they're just,
they don't.
Like whatever, you don't matter. We don't care about you. And they never can get enough money. And as Don said, why use my money when I can use yours? That's their, they just keep getting richer and taking advantage of the disenfranchised and poor people.
Yes.
But I don't know if anything's going to change. I mean, it's been happening.
It's not. They'll find a better way of doing it where it's not detected next time. They get better at their own corruption, I suppose.
Right.
So
that's
it.
That's disappointing. We're looking at what he's done is, we're looking at something you would go to jail over. So, is that even gonna happen? He's not going to jail.
No.
If you and I
you don't think so? You don't think so?
No, he's not going to. No, money don't go to jail, Chris.
No.
I mean, Almond. Money doesn't go to jail because I think the governor's tied in with this.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the governor knows somebody that knows somebody. He's not going to jail.
Yeah. He may do some community service,
Yeah, that's it. He'll pay back some, a little fine or something.
Yeah.
I don't see what all the attention on it. How is some type of jail time? Now, again, we're getting ahead of it. He's got to be found guilty. Maybe there's a way he gets out of it. But whoever was involved in this fraud, how do you not receive jail time? Shannon Sharp's comments were so on point when he said
they were on point.
He said, little somebody in the hood gets an EBT card, and everyone's upset over those $400 little if they're mismanaging that or stealing from that, and they'll try to put them in jail for fraud.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? For $400, whatever it may be.
Yep.
So I don't understand, how
more.
Yeah.
I think it comes down to power.
More money for locking them up.
It's power.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, I think it comes down to power. So they've got the money, but having that power to kind of do what they want to do. And it's just the mass the power, and the feeling of that power just gives them a rush, I think, because he clearly had the money.
Yeah.
So he didn't need to take that, or allegedly take that.
Well, like Queen Latifah says, money, power, respect.
Yep.
It's those three things that they want. So, so that is it. But it happens, and it's going to continue to happen. Maybe not with Brett Favre, but there'll be others.
Yeah, Shannon mentioned that there were some other names in it. I forget the two. He mentioned two other names. I know one is Marcus Dupree, not Marcus Dupree. I was shocked about that. Yeah, Marcus.
You'll go to jail.
Oh Lord, who is now? I don't know Marcus Tree, but
he's like this. He's like us.
Oh Lord, yeah, he going under the jail.
He's going to.
So
He's gonna be the scapegoat.
I mean, I don't know. Like that was shocking to me that he would do that. So the Marcus Pre story, real quick, is one of the best ESPN 30 for 30s was his story. So he goes back in the 80s. Okay. He goes to Oklahoma State. He's like this real, like just phenomenal running back. And and he just doesn't come back to school, you know, after that first year, and then he's breaking all kind of records, and obviously the kid's got an NFL career in front of him. But then there was like people, like just some shady people that got involved in him that got him out of Oklahoma State, got him to I think at SMU or something. But, you know, people manipulating him because they knew he was going to hit it big in the NFL. So he goes to the USFL. He gets these, you know, huge contracts, and I don't know who all gets some of his money. But they're taking his money. The guy gets hurt and basically loses his, you know, NFL career. He does have a little comeback. So at the end of that story, he's like driving trucks, you know, back in his hometown, but he still has his name. And so I'm interested to see how Marcus Dupree got involved in this. You know, be really sad if that, if, you know, something happened to him. So, but again, you know, wrong is wrong. So what hopefully will happen is people that did wrong will be brought to justice. Again, taken from the least of us especially when you've got the money already, is just inexcusable. So we'll see. Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Any
Somebody
other? Yeah, go ahead.
Angie mentioned that Bernie Madoff finally got caught for taking money from vulnerable people, but he took money from rich folk. That's why he went to jail.
Yeah, they're not gonna have that now.
He took money from rich folk, wealthy people.
Right. Yeah, she's right. But you know, a lot of times those type of crimes, when they finally do end up paying a price, man, they're like 75, 80, you know what I mean? It's like finally it catches up to them, but they've lived this lavish lifestyle, you know, of all these years, and it's sort of like the justice is so overdue, it almost doesn't even you know, warrant like prosecuting them. So let me say hello to some people. Like Angie's always watching. Thanks, Angie, for tuning in. Thanks, Tasha, for tuning in. Omida's tuning in. Angela, thank you all for watching. Leave your comments, you know, as you know, as you become interested in something we're talking about, or anything that we can add to it. So
you know what I find interesting?
Yeah, go ahead.
What I find interesting too is I was reading an article about Brett Favre today, and the writer was basically saying, you know, not only did he allegedly commit fraud, but is he a fraud too, just in general? Like, I don't think he woke up. Usually this kind of behavior, alleged behavior, is something this is maybe this is the first time he's gotten caught. Yeah. But it's typically not the first time people engage in this type of behavior.
Right. So Shannon mentioned that.
Yeah.
In his he said he's always been sleazy.
And sleazy.
Remember, you know, I'm not sure what all went on, but that text messages with him and that masseuse was sort of like the Deshaun Watson type of thing. You know, Deshaun got suspended for several games for that. It was something along those lines where he was, you know, propositioning that person. And I don't know if they were receptive to it. I just don't remember that, but I just know that it was sort of what Deshaun Watson got in trouble over.
Plus, he had a pain pill addiction also during his career.
He did.
He talked about T.O., right? He said if T.O. Because he had an addiction, but he wasn't given the same, I guess, level of grace.
Treat.
Right.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah, Connie, did you have something?
No, not on that too much. Wholeheartedly look at it. We're humans. I said, but everything they talk about, you know, coming to light, watching what you do always, because people will always question whenever you mess up. And
Mhm.
so behind has to go ahead and when you do mess up. Um, and
Okay.
everything is how I feel about that.
Got it. Got it. Well, we'll see. Well, the news is still coming out on that. Doesn't look good for him. Any one of us done it, we're going to jail. So we'll see what happens with Brett Favre. I don't think we got people like Shannon Sharp out there, and even Stephen A. Smith had some comments. I don't think it's gonna just get swept under the rug and go away. That's a lot
No,
of 77 million. There's a lot of people that are
that's a
gonna
lot
go.
of money.
A lot of people are gonna go to jail over that. If, once all the facts come out. So, all right. So,
Yeah.
so I wanted to just kind of transition from that over to another topic that's been in the news, and it is the Little Mermaid trailer. All right. I'm full disclosure, I never saw the first Little Mermaid, and probably not gonna watch this one. But not even sure when the movie actually comes out. It's I think they're way ahead of schedule as far as releasing. They just released the trailer this past week, but the
Yeah.
the reason it hit the news is because now they have casted Ariel with a black actor, and her name is Halle Bailey. And
Halle.
say go ahead, Ronnie.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay, Halle Bailey. No,
Halle
I didn't know.
Bailey. Yeah, I know. Like I know.
Okay.
I was confused. Yeah, because I was like, oh really? I was clicking on the link, like, where is she? Where is she?
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, it's Halle Bailey, but just
Mhm,
the story, Little Mermaid. We know it was a real popular Disney movie. I didn't have
mhm.
I didn't have girls, and actually, I wasn't even married when it came out. So there was just no reason for me to watch it. It was
Yeah.
very popular. So now they've recasted it, and Halle Bailey's a black actor. And then so on social media, there's been this talk about a lot of memes talking about people are upset that they are I don't know what they call it, blackwashing. What Little Mermaid is supposed to be white, and I just don't understand. I really honestly don't believe that is a real issue. And Renita sent me the video from um, Trevor Noah. Let me see if I've got it ready to.
Mhm.
Yeah, while you're looking for that, I've been watching,
Yeah.
social media, TikTok, and you have, there are critics, of course, and of course you have the supporters.
Yeah.
And, it's past time, and I can't believe in 2022 that this is a big deal. If you think about the young black actress that was cast in Hunger Games and all the uproar, I can't think of her
Mhm.
name now, but they were like, "Oh, the book, she shouldn't be black. The book has her as white." I mean, like, it was ridiculous. But the community is responding with humor, which I find the Black community is responding with humor and also with a lot of heavy sarcasm in response to those people who say,
Right.
why is why is she black? So it's
Right.
been really, I think humor is probably a good approach. I don't know what else you can do. I mean, it's ridiculous. Why does it matter? I mean, we need representation. We should have
Yeah.
representation.
Exactly.
What was that?
Mhm.
I actually saw when it. Hold on. I was like, what's going on? Sorry, y'all.
I think that was
So
me. Sorry. Go ahead.
I saw this when it was coming back along. I think it was last year when they first started talking. I'm a huge fan of, okay, and so I was looking at that, and they said that next year in 2020, 26th is when it's scheduled to come out, May 23. So I'm a huge fan, but I'm not a big fan of the live act real people. I like cartoons. Okay, so,
Yeah.
I'm for Ariel being a little black girl. The debates and
Mhm.
the discussion online that Ariel was never supposed to be white. the time when everything was white. And they said if you look at was supposedly cast, and she was, that's an islander, be darker skin anyway. But
Yeah.
everything that you see online.
I just don't think it's a real I was having this discussion with Headache and Ronnie. I just don't think it's real outrage. I was trying to find who has a problem with it. That's what I was trying to find. I think on an article I read, there was like really one tweet that kind of got picked up, and then it went from there. But there was nothing really there might be 100 people that may have said something. It's not like real outrage or real backlash. I was actually arguing the fact that it's good for the movie. Maybe they wanted to do this because it's good for the movie, because it draws more attention to it, gets more eyes on it. Now people are going to go see it and might go see it 2 or 3 times. So that was just my argument on it. I've got that Trevor Noah video pulled up, so I'm going to play that. And then after his comments, we'll come back to the topic.
Once again, a bunch of internet racists are upset that a fictional character is being played by a black person. And honestly, I don't know what the big deal is. You guys realize that Nemo was black too, right? Yeah, that whole movie was about a fish who can't find his dad.
Yeah. Wait a minute now.
We'll get it. Listen.
Because my dad left and he's white, so who's racist now?
What is this, Saturday Night Live?
Ridiculous. First of all, of course, the Little Mermaid is black, right? Everyone whose name starts with Lil is black. Lil Wayne, Lil Kim. Honestly, if you heard that there was a woman named Little Mermaid, you just assume that she's on a track with Cardi B, Look now, wet ass flippers. So look, stop being ridiculous. It's imaginary. I hope the scandal doesn't scandal the rest of the movie. The Little Mermaid is a beautiful story about a young woman changing her core identity to please a man. Let's not forget about that.
So that you know what, that was funny. And to your point, Renita, I think the response with comedy has been refreshing. Really sometimes helps us laugh at the ridiculousness of some of the things that people have said. And who better do that than Trevor? But yeah, so I think it's been done already. Like, we've already had they made Annie black, a few years ago, that Jamie Foxx movie where, reception, there was maybe some comments, but the reception was well. It's been done so many times. I was trying to think back, some real popular stuff where that's been recasted with all black characters, and probably one of the most popular ones that's still popular is The Wiz. And I remember going to the movie theaters to see that. Big deal. And then I was looking it up. The Wiz still tours now to sell out shows, and everyone watched it. So there's room for that. And I just don't know if we should feed into that small 1% that somebody that's still maybe holding on to an old idea of what. That was my go ahead.
Well, I was going to say too that the detractors that are out there. So one of their arguments, and I wish I'd sent you this meme. It's like, well, what if Black Panther was white, or what if so and so was cast as white? And then somebody said, well, wait till they find out Jesus is actually black. I mean, and then they have this whole thing of memes. They recast the Golden Girls as all black actresses. They had 50 people playing. It was hilarious. Right. So that's kind of been the response. It's like, the people, the detractors are like, well, what if so and so's, what if he? And so they're actually creating these memes of well-known white actors replaced by black actors, and it's funny. I just think that the humor is just almost the perfect response to this nonsense.
I think they're fearful of. I think they're fearful of the effect that it may have on the younger generation. You know, seeing a pure black mermaid. What will little girls think at that point?
Oh,
Is
and
black
watch.
better?
Yeah, speaking of that, I'm sorry to cut you off. Because
It's okay.
I don't know, Chris, I don't know if you have a chance to play this, but the reaction of the young, beautiful little brown little black girls actually seeing the
Mhm.
mermaid and seeing that she's black and seeing that
Yeah, I
she's
wanted to
with
share that
them.
one. It wouldn't let me download it though. So,
Yeah,
but it's on
Okay.
social media. Renita sent it to me. I believe it's a TikTok video, isn't it?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Of the girl's reaction to it. So I
Mhm.
just from my point of view, and after I go comment, I'll let you comment. I just know from my point of view, like growing up, growing up in the 70s and 80s, I just became a big like sci-fi fan. I just love sci-fi. And I would sci-fi, and then of course, who didn't love Saturday morning cartoons and heroes and all
Oh
that.
yeah.
But yeah, man, I
Yeah.
just sometimes would sit and watch them and just be like, man, why, no one on there looks like me. And it does it does resonate when
It does.
you're not included. I think like some of my
Yeah.
friends who were white, they didn't understand it. Like, what do you mean? You can be Superman. It was embarrassing to buy a Superman costume at Halloween with the white face and your black hand sticking
Yeah.
out of it. You know what I'm saying? It's just yeah, obviously it's not, what I mean? And so just
Yeah.
that little thing that happens sometimes affects you in a certain way, and you want to see inclusion. That's why, but that is also why I loved sci-fi and fan, because those were genres that were quick to embrace diversity. Like, yeah, it's gonna be, everyone's not gonna be, all white. You get like, early sci-fi, you get to the planet, everybody there is white, and you're like, okay, come on now, what is this?
Yeah.
But things started changing. Things started changing, and it's little things. And I remember like watching the Super Friends, and the first time that they had a black superhero on there, which is like on Netflix, that the Black Lightning series on Netflix, is the guy from the DC comics. They called him. I swear to you, his name was Black Vulcan. But somewhere in the peak 80s, they dropped the black part and they just called it Vulcan. But when he first saw it, I swear his name was Black Vulcan. I just know his name, because he's black. They was like, yeah, they was called
Yeah.
Black Vulcan. But at some point, they dropped that and they just called him Vulcan. But you started seeing like, okay, diversity happened in sci-fi. Star Trek was, way ahead of its time on that. If you watch things like Twilight Zone, way ahead of its time. So that it was already happening in those genres. Where it didn't happen in like regular dramas, TV dramas, things that are really popular, and you would a lot of times either it had to be, this black family living in the ghetto, which I love. Good times.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I love good times.
I love it.
I did. But you never saw.
But I like the Cosby's also.
Right. You didn't see stuff outside of that, and you did. And I'm all for it. Why not? Have representation from everybody. I love when that Asian there was a couple of movies last year that came out which is all Asian cast. We need that. You know what I'm saying? We need stuff like that. Connie, go ahead.
You know what? You different superheroes and all of when you were looking, and I have to, because all of the shows in the cartoon, I show my kids now, have these epiphanies now. I was watching Hey Arnold. Friend was Gerald, and he was black with a high, and
Right.
all of these different shows were different types of colors, right?
But
then I Halloween, and I was stormed for bad, yo.
Yo, all right. I can see that. Yeah.
I was also, so it did, but I remember, my cousin, so, and I'm that has to deal with it, and the time starting transition change. You know, I was born in 8, so I don't know if that is the generation before me that started
Right.
to look, but that's not okay. And let's go ahead and say that, because I was introduced to a whole lot most of Black characters and things
Right.
like that. And
Right.
who knows, it push it more and stuff like that. God, still, I was the only Black kid in
Yeah.
class and things like that forever. So, our
Yeah.
way of pushing us.
Yeah. Oh,
Mhm.
that's it. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Go ahead, Ronnie. And I
Yeah.
want to know, Ronnie, have you ever been in a situation where, like, you've been in class, you've been the only kid of color in class, the only Black kid in class? Have you been in that situation?
Yes. Well, you know, I'm a college baseball player,
Okay.
and a lot of Black people play baseball. That's one thing there. But I want to share this point, which is real personal for me. When I did live in Augusta, you know, I lived in Evans, and Chris and I, we would coach this team that a lot of the players weren't from good backgrounds. I'll just put it like that, financially.
Right.
Probably what, maybe Chris, maybe 75, 80% of them weren't.
Yep.
Yeah. So where I built a large home in Evans, Georgia, and a lot of times, even though I wasn't the coach or owner of the organization, we would try to have get-togethers and parties at my house to let those Black players see that here's a Black man that grew up down by T.W. Josie
Right.
and now living in a $2 million house.
Right.
It can happen. So I know you see it on television and it looks like, you know, Puff Daddy's got it and all these other stars have it, but you're here with me, and it's possible to happen. So it's not just those stars that are rappers and ball players that do it. There's other people that can do it as well.
Yeah.
So that was a personal issue with me that I was trying to relate to the younger gentleman that was on our team. A lot of them anyway. So
Yeah, Ronnie,
but that was
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
huh?
I was going to tell you, thanks for sharing that. I have a book inside of me, and the title of my book is going to be called The Only, because that literally has
Okay.
been like just throughout my career, you know, being in the newsroom, being in corporate America, being in boardrooms, and being the only person of color there, and looking
Yeah.
around like this, it shouldn't be this way, but
It shouldn't.
we've all, I'm sure, had those experiences. Even today, when I'm watching TV and I'm watching a commercial, and I don't see anybody that
Mhm.
looks like me, I don't want to buy that product. I'm like, they didn't think
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
me to include somebody that looks like me in the commercial. Like, I don't
Mhm.
get that. And so I really look out for stuff like that. Like, I don't want to buy or support a company that doesn't take the time to make sure that I'm included in the advertisement, I'm included in the outreach. And even when I
Yeah.
across, and I can speak specifically for newsrooms, the anchor desk should reflect people in the community.
It should.
If we look at the Augusta community,
Yeah.
if you look at the 6 o'clock newscast on
Mhm.
any of the stations, I'm going to say probably all, maybe with the exception of one,
Yeah.
it does not represent the community. I mean, Augusta, I don't
Okay.
know the percentage, but Augusta is what, 95% Black? I think.
Probably so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think it is.
we've got a Black mayor, Black sheriff, Black fire chief. We've got a large Black community in Augusta, and yet the news desk in the Augusta community does not reflect the community. And
Yeah.
and so it runs the gamut of where we're not represented and where we should be represented. So that really does, that's a pain in my side when I think about that. Like and being the only one in the newsroom or on the anchor desk,
Yeah.
the only person of color, and then just looking around like, why that can't be. I know I'm not the only talented Black person in whatever field I'm in. I know I'm not.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
like there's room for one or two of us, and that's it.
Yeah.
I just feel like they're disrespectful to us where they don't really care. Like when you see a product on television, like you were saying, and it only shows the other race, that's telling me that they don't care whether we get your money or not. We don't care.
And we
We don't
spend a
want
lot
it.
of money.
We spend a lot of
I'm
it.
talking
Yes.
a lot.
Yes.
Black folks, African Americans, we spend money, but yet
We do.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna be complete. I'm gonna be. I don't think before that it is something that is new, that is told you about my cartoons and things like that. But when that was trained differently. I older, and
Mm-hmm.
the filtered who I keep in my life, who I align in my body, my spirit, those processes and things have to be putting something in. It's like
Yeah.
when you're watching, to know that you as their teacher will their health and their well-being. Just your parents were saying that one of the teachers came in here and was to shoot up the school. I would, and I said, that's the thing that I think about when whatever it's doing. When I'm watching what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing, if I don't get a good feeling from you, guess what? I defense for my child, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So again, if I'm feeding my money into you, if I'm feeding my money into you, then I'm allowing you to ideals and thoughts that you have. And that's
Mm-hmm.
what we had to do. We had to pay for it. It's just how it is.
Mhm.
And now
Yeah.
we're late. And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, and I'll share like sort of my experience. So I grew up in the military, so it's a little different. Growing up in the military, especially back then, although the military, can be very, at that time it was very political and still, prejudice. I don't want to say like blatantly racist, but a lot of prejudice, and you had to be, you had to fit a certain mold, to get promoted. That's on the military. So
Systematically.
right. You had to be a part of that. So, and I know for the
Mm-hmm.
kids growing up in that time, we were just kind of really, you know, thrown into multicultural communities. Theirs not really
Yeah.
based on race. It's really based on your the rank of the parent or parents that are in the military. So,
Mm-hmm.
that situation, man, I was just really exposed to a lot of different ethnicities, as best friends, and you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
every now and then race would come up, and it was sort of like almost like of a shock, to the point to like, wait a minute, you know, that's still a thing. And I just remember being part of the Boy Scouts, and I would never talk bad about the Boy Scouts. That they didn't
Mm-hmm.
get enough press on their own, but I enjoyed. I yeah, I enjoyed being in the Boy Scouts. Nothing happened to me, so I enjoyed being in it. But my mom really took to it to where she was involved in it. Like she was a den mother and
Yeah.
everything. We'd have meetings at night.
Okay.
So and I look at all the pictures, and like me, one other black kid. There was like a Korean kid. He's actually my best friend, and then the rest
Mm-hmm.
of the kids were all white. But I just never like, oh, you're black. It just never sat on me like that until,
It doesn't make a difference. Yeah.
oh yeah, oh well, let me tell you, until
Uh,
went from like you go from Boy Scouts to Weeblos to now Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Weeblos, Boy Scouts. Well, I get into Boy Scouts, that's middle school age, middle school and high school. I get in
mm-hmm.
there. This happens at a meeting. So we're talking about going to a camping trip. We're gonna be out there for a few days, and one of the kids makes a racial joke about me and my family. Like we're all just sitting there laughing. All of
Mm.
a sudden, he just makes this really nasty joke about me basically calling my family savages. Like I was gonna have a bone in my nose dancing around the bonfire, and man, Ronnie, I lost it. I must have been like at seventh, eighth grade. I
I
don't
don't
know.
believe it.
I lost it. I jumped on him so fast, like it just came over me,
Did you?
and I jumped on him
Wow.
so fast, and yeah, basically I jumped on his ass. That's what happened. The den leader came in
Sometimes it takes.
there. Yeah, the den leader came in there. He pulled me off of him, separated us, made me go in a room, and I'm gonna tell you what ended up happening is I got sent home. I got sent
Did you?
home. Yes. I was so hurt. I'm like, my trust was just broken in this whole this scout. I spent like starting the scouts in 3rd grade. So now I'm like 7th, 8th grade. Everything. My trust was broken. They sent me home. He told me, don't come back unless you bring your mother with you. And I said, no problem, I'll do that. And there was one other kid in there, and it was kind of sort of a situation that probably I should have been prepared for, because I was the only black kid in that scout group. The only other kid of color was a Vietnamese kid. Still a good man. We're still friends to this day on Facebook. And you know what he did? He stood up for me to the scoutmaster when they came out there, and he had some seniority. He said, hey, what's going on? And he said, nope. He said, what Chris did, you know, I understand. Basically, he stood up for me in that meeting, and he said, you know, yeah, he jumped on him, but here's what happened. Here's what was said. That guy owes him an apology, and all of that. And then every year on his birthday, man, I sent him a little note. You know, but I came back with my parents, you know, with my mom. Came back. The guy was like, yeah, I had to send you home for this and that, but you know, we'll welcome you back. You know, you're gonna have to suspend you for a couple of days. And I told him, I said, I'm not coming back.
I know it still has,
Yep. I told him not coming back. Took my uniform off, and I was done with scouts from that day on. So it's just, you know, I say that to say that, you know, we've come a long way, because I think there's like that generation of people have kind of grown up and saw like, okay, you know what, there is some type of like double standard and bias towards this and towards that, you know. And so there's like people out there trying to voice some equity, you know, some, you know, rather than judging people, you know, like, it's sad to say that we have to say that, but, you know, kind of, we're needed in a situation where there's got to be more black people who could do this. There's got to be more black people who could do this. There's got to be, you know, more diversity out there. And at some point, I think they were probably driven away or made to feel like they would never fit in. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so we get comfortable and go into the areas that we feel like we're going to be comfortable with, you know.
Accepted.
Yeah. Where you're appreciated.
Yeah,
that's true. How many times can you be walked over somebody that you know is less qualified than you, appropriate, and for whatever reason you and wholeheartedly when you stack up, guess what? You're the one that's still the one that's getting. So how long are you supposed to sit there and wait for opportunity? You can't just be like, here, let me push you out here. It's my time now. That is.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
We've had a lot of good comments over here. I don't know if you want to read those.
Yeah. Go ahead. I see them. They're coming in.
Yeah. So Angie says, I remember seeing a biography on Jackie Robinson and how the MLB and other national sports teams were realizing that the black people were, for the most part, better athletes. Think about it. If there were no black football players or basketball players, the game just wouldn't be as great as it is today. The managers of the teams got smart and realized that they would get much more money if they included people of color. The salaries of ball players skyrocketed too.
Thanks to Mike.
Yeah. And I hopefully one day we'll get to a point where like race isn't even a you know, not something that we need to. Right. Like I feel like we should be celebrating everybody's culture. You know, I mean, I always reference growing up in the military, like the military was so politically correct. Like every month it was somebody's month. You know, so they would always be having something. And I remember living across the hall from the Pacific Island. They were from Guam, and whenever it was Asian Pacific Week, they would have this big event. We would go, we'd eat all the food, we dance, have a great time. I just feel like we should be moving towards that kind of society. You're not threatened by the fact that I celebrate my culture. Nothing wrong with that. You're not threatened by the fact that the Little Mermaid is black. There's nothing wrong with that. And just live with it. You know what I mean? But yeah, go ahead, Ron.
I think the thing that I think about a lot is, like our parents, probably when they were younger, they never envisioned an African-American president. But a lot of our parents are able to experience that. So what I'm hoping and praying is our children, all of these old heads will give up their thrones or whatever they may do, and then the corporate culture comes more diverse because our kids are more diverse than our parents were.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah.
I'm hoping that I'm around to experience that when it's more on an even playing field. I hope it comes to that someday, where our kids get in there and start taking control and having ideas and running companies and doing things. And it's a diverse culture and not always just, of the other race.
Yeah.
That's what I hope to see. Anyway.
You made a really good point, because I was reading another article that says it's really going to take generations of folks dying. Right?
Yeah, I didn't want to use that word, but
yeah. So they're going to have to die, and
Yeah.
as they die, and their beliefs and that culture dies with them, and then as the new generation starts to, as they get older and they have lived and lived in a more hopefully in a more inclusive environment. I know companies are doing a lot more as far as diversity, DE&I, and it's this is everything is global. So, but I think here in America, and just to reference this writer, I don't know who it is, I would give him credit, but I do believe that's what it's going to take.
Yeah, I think so.
Die off, and that culture will go away. They'll be replaced by more thoughtful, insightful, inclusive people and ideas. And inclusivity doesn't just mean, the color of our skin. I mean, backgrounds, religion, there's a lot of different thoughts and perspectives that need to come to the table. But I think it's going to have to, we're going to have to see some glory.
Oh, awesome point. Yeah, that you mentioned that, because you're right. In inclusivity, not necessarily based on race, but like you said, it's backgrounds, it's religions, things like that. Because a lot of times you can find somebody who's a different race from you, but grew up in sort of the same environment or same culture scape that you came in. Y'all are so much alike, but you're different races. You know what I mean? And a lot of times you'll find that it's just when we can find that common factor among us, it makes it easier for us to look at each other as as similarities. And again, I always say, like, I would love it to where we can get to the point where we can embrace our differences and not be afraid because somebody's black. Like, you see this a lot now in like shows now that come out, that just never happened in the past. Is like they've got black characters in it. Like I'm watching the Game of Thrones sequel. There's black characters in there playing like major parts. There's I didn't watch Bridgerton, but I mean, when Mida was watching, I was like, why is this dude black? What is he doing here? I was like, what is he doing in here?
When I see shows on wherever, Netflix or just streaming, and I see black characters, I get so excited. I really feel like, oh wow! And then they're main characters, women, and I mean, it's just so exciting. But I want to ask you all something on the flip side of this conversation. And I'm going to tell you a quick story, and I want to get your take. So I worked with a gentleman a few years ago, an engineer, young black engineer. He graduated from Georgia Tech, brilliant. He comes to me one day at work, and he says, "Bernita, I just," because I would always ask him, how are you doing? How are things going? He goes, well. So he went in my office and he says, well, I just don't know how to talk to them. I don't know what to say. I'm like, who are you talking about? So he was talking about his coworkers, right? Predominantly black, white. Like the only maybe one or two black engineers in his group. And I'm like, you talk to them like everybody else. What are you talking about? And he goes, well, but I've never been around them. I'm like, you graduated from Georgia Tech. He goes, Renita, all I did was study. I didn't socialize. I said, well, what about, so turns out he grew up in a black neighborhood, right? He went to a black church. He went to a predominantly black magnet school. So the exposure, he never had exposure outside of his community, right?
Oh, wow.
And I think that happens a lot of times, right, in our community. We're kind of siloed. And I think it's important that our children be exposed to, a multitude of cultures.
Diverse cultures,
Yes, they have to be. When I think about my daughters, I mean, they had white friends, Armenian friends, Latino, Hispanic. And even for me growing up, and I grew up around a diverse group of people. And so I think that kind of helped shape my experiences and made me comfortable to be in those settings where I was the only one, because it wasn't like a big deal to me. I mean, I'd walk in the room and there'd be 60 white men at a meeting in the morning, and I'm the only Black, one of two women. But the only thing I would look around and think is, well, where are all the other Black people? But I was comfortable to be in that environment because I'd already been exposed. But I find a lot of young Black professionals have not had that exposure, and so when they're around other groups, they don't feel comfortable. I mean, it was like crippling for him, and I just felt so bad. But it was like he had spent all of his time at Georgia Tech studying. He had grown up and surrounded by Black people, which is wonderful and a rich experience. But what do you all think about that? And
So
I was just thinking.
go ahead.
Oh,
Go ahead, Connie.
Go ahead. I said you already know where I grew up. Only one of the only two Black neighborhood, and again, population of maybe 20 settings that, and half of them are related. Okay, and in high school, shaped where I wanted to live and how I wanted my used. I did not want to send the went to experience the same thing. And so I'm that parent that always tells the kids, hey, go make a new friend the first day, find out their name. And most of my kids they have friends of all nationalities, and it's really important. And we're in Arizona. They went to school in Scottsdale as well, actually in Levine. So very, very diverse. They're around all of their Black friends. When it comes to me, I'm actually aware in many of the cases, Blackness might make people uncomfortable. My friends, one of my clients, she asked me, she says, "Are you okay? Are you crying?" She says, "This is a lot of white." And I said, "Honey," I said, "I forgot I grew up like this." So it wasn't. I believe that as parents, our job is for all settings, and that's
absolutely
dealing with all different settings, the good, the bad, and the that's why I also told them that they needed to go to school. I'm not worried about their safety. I know they're going to deal, and those are the reasons why I give them certain paths. It's like when it comes to fighting, that I know that the kids that we're around are a little bit right. You're going to give them 2 warnings because they didn't hear you, and then we're going to move from there. What I feel, how I feel about the situation. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Oh, no, I was thinking about a situation when Renita was talking. Our youngest son dates a white young lady, and they're in college together. So she had her graduation party, I guess last spring. So we went to her parents' place for the graduation party. My wife and I were laughing about this because she has cousins that have kids. None of the kids were they were mixed. We felt like we were at a Kim Kardashian party or something. Everybody all the kids were mixed. I was like, but we had a good time. But that just shows the diversity that I'm hoping that our nation is going to, the younger generation anyway. So that's a big thing.
Yeah. I was going to add to that. I teach my daughters. I mean, they're 26 and 22, but from, when they were, middle school and up, but I wanted them to be global citizens. Like I want them to think globally, My oldest is bilingual. Both of them are bilingual. They both speak Spanish fluently. They've traveled extensively throughout Latin America. They've traveled solo. My oldest wants to move abroad to Medellin, Colombia. I mean, I want them to have a global mindset. Because in our country, or at least in certain parts of the U.S., I mean, it's black and white. But when you really, I mean, the world, I mean, it's huge. I know that sounds but it's huge. I mean, there's so much to see, and there's so many cultures. And I wish I could take young Black people and just, send them to Korea and Japan and, and Peru, and just let them see how huge and wonderful this world is and the experiences they
it does. It does make you see things differently. My family, like I said, my dad was military. I just was fortunate enough that I was born in Germany, so that he was, he was, when I was born, we happened to be deployed overseas. So I was born in Germany, and in my first, up until actually going into high school, we were kind of back and forth every couple of years, back and forth. Really embraced, the German culture. I love German food, but being over there, like you were saying, Renita, just exposes you to a bigger world. Like you start to realize that even before I came to high school here in Augusta, I just understood that what was happening here in Augusta wasn't the end all, it wasn't the standard for everyone else. And it came up in a time when of being overseas, when American culture was, still is, but it was really, really hot. At the time, like rap was just coming out, and dancing and all the things that American culture, and at that time it was American Black culture, was really popular overseas. So you could go anywhere, and they, like, all the German kids wanted to be your friend, and they want, what I mean. So it was just a different experience over there, and then you didn't really experience all of the, there was some, racial tension every now and then, but it just wasn't anything like coming back to here, especially here in the South. It was just a different, and I talk about that with some of my friends that I was overseas with when he came back, how things were different for them. It was nothing for me and, my Asian friend, my white friend, my Mexican friend, all of us to be hanging out together every single day at each other's house, eating each, mom's food, cooking, we're trying to, it was nothing. So when you come here and you hear people talk about, maybe you hear comments about Mexicans, or you hear comments about Asians, and it was just like, so and it was so like, where is this coming from? I didn't get it. You know what I mean? So I think it's a hindrance when we do not like travel. We can get out, even if it's just getting outside of your own city, just traveling and experiencing some things that are different, because it'll allow, again, that child to see there's something other than what's right in front of me in my community, or only what I'm seeing this on TV. And that's something that's inside of them that they may suppress because it's not acceptable in their community. It's like, we don't do that. We don't write science fiction novels. We don't do that. You either got to be a basketball player or a football player, or a rapper. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And when you get out of that and you see, oh, wait a minute, we can do that. You know what I mean? So,
So I tell you this much. I was speaking to somebody about prison. When our less fortunate individuals in the community, when they don't have any place to work, they don't want to work, they don't have any money, right? They're living in a impoverished situation. Prison really isn't that bad, if you think about it, because you get to eat 3 meals a day.
Explain that now. Wait a minute.
Prison isn't that bad. Now, I mean, I'm on the outside looking in, but the living conditions and having food to eat, you don't need a lot of money. What is so bad about prison? I mean, I hate to say that. I think we make the prison system too easy, where when kids come out now, they're like heroes. Yeah, I've been to prison. Yeah, he's one of the good guys in the community now. It's a shame that we look at it like that.
No, I think that requires a multi to discuss their experience because if you have it's not for us to speak on. I said it's like I think like that, but I think it depends on the person. I said that's working all day and who's tired, hospital, like that's a little bit of a vacation because
Yeah.
food and you're stuck in a bed. Now, a prison might not, okay, but to other people that are and other things like that, that
That are
might
productive.
be a different look.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, people that rely on their family, people, and energy and stuff like that, that isolation. How you think about Muhammad Ali and how he handled isolation and stuff like that. That's and rethinking and reframing the mind. Somebody that's always in their mind, isolation. They might have a newfound, and so I think it all depends on the type of person. Hey, I think we make it a little bit easy, but I am that you should have to work for everything that you do is on what's going on. Okay, was a little pissed when I saw that murdered my father, having a good old time, just seeing the family and hearing that the TVs and everything. And I'm like, he still gets to see his family, and he's sitting. Or you could tell me it's an apology. Right. You denied it at the beginning, but then you want to admit it on the day. So sorry. I said, nah, that kid's traumatized. Okay, so how do we go? Your ass is going to be out soon.
Yeah,
get life.
That's true.
He got 20 years in past. So yeah, that's in no time. And then he's out,
Yeah. I just think it's too easy for them. It's just, they don't value life. So, for those that aren't productive in the community, it's like an escape or vacation for them. And it shouldn't be that easy.
And you hear about situations where people they're trying to get locked back up. You know what I'm saying? They want to go back.
That's different.
Those are the ones that I'm speaking of. Those are those professional criminals that kill for any and every reason. So
don't care. Yeah.
But and that's probably another deeper topic of what makes what drives that person to that point to where they don't care anymore. Where the laws of the norms of standard society of how you should act and how we should respect each other's property and person just doesn't even relate to them in any way. So where they're more comfortable being incarcerated. And I'm not one of those people who tend to believe that, oh, this person is just evil and there is no redemption for them. I just can't come to that. I hear that a lot of time in the political discourse. There's some people that can look at somebody and say they're irredeemable, and I just can't ever get to that point. There may be some people that hey, you've done what you've done and you may be locked up for life. But even in that environment, there is an opportunity for you to learn, grow, change. You may never get out, but opportunity for you to adjust, and so so and that kind of reminds me kind of what we were just really the bigger picture what we were just talking about. A quote from Albert Einstein, and I've talked about this like when I've gone to counseling. Like this was the question that my counselor, my therapist asked me that I could not answer. It took me a year to really understand. And she asked me, and there's a quote from Albert Einstein, but basically this is what she said to me. His quote reads, "The most important decision that we can make is whether we believe we live in a friendly universe or a hostile universe." Now, she posed that question to me, and I had absolutely, like, what do you mean? Of course it's hostile. Like, look at what's going on around you. Like, you watch the news. I almost was like, you got to be kidding me that, he asked me this question.
Yeah.
But it took me a year and a half to understand what she was saying is like, we just talked about a lot of things that each one of us has experienced in the workplace, with families, with friends, or whatever, that was sort of, in a way traumatizing to us and kind of shaped our world, our environment. But we learned how to cope. We made some adjustments. and we decided, okay, well, this is the way the world is. But then also, as we continue our journey, we then created our own like reality, not reality, I don't want to say reality, our own perceptions of where we just all four of us have just said we feel like society or our world could be like this. You know what I mean? And we've all put our efforts in to make it like that. And so that tells me that, you know, however we perceive it, that's the energy we're going to put into. That's the work we're going to put into. So those people that want to get locked up, they absolutely believe they live in a hostile universe. All they know is to fight. All they know is to fight. You know, and so that's where
Like
I
we
think
said,
that decision. Yeah, go ahead.
Like we were saying, that's their environment. They don't know there's other parts of the planet that people are civilized. You know, I mean, of course there's ghettos. There's ghettos in Hollywood, but there's a nice part of Hollywood also. So I mean, just because you live in this little confined area, that doesn't mean the whole world is like that. There's a better
Ronnie, you know, I was going to say that if we were at the top of the show, we were talking about some of the gun violence that's happening in Augusta this past week at football games and homecoming. And I think if we could get young people early, I know this sounds really, you know, idealistic or whatever, but if we could get them early and let them try and help them to travel and see the world and to know that there's so much more out there than the small community, and a lot of them are trapped there. It's generational, right? But I really do think that is part of the solution, is letting them know there's so much more outside of what they know. But because they haven't experienced, or no one in their family has experienced it, they don't understand that. And I think can we go back, Chris? I wanted to read. We got some really good comments that have come in.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can't read all of Don's. I don't know if I can scroll down or if you can scroll up. The one that says
full screen mode.
Yeah, Don talks about
100%. I grew up
100% accurate
in Atlanta in the 70s. On Earth, all Black neighborhoods owned their homes. All Black church, Catholic school. All Black kids to MLK Jr.'s house. Black 24/7. My mother was forward thinking to Augusta every summer since the age to the Augusta Jewish community's exposure to learn to play tennis, archery, camping, etc., etc. I learned very early on that there was a whole everyday Black experience.
Yeah, and there are Black people that do that stuff every day. It's not the other race that does that.
They do, Ronnie. Ronnie, I'm gonna say they do, Ronnie. But Ronnie, you know, and it's some of our communities, even right here in Augusta, if you're one of those kids that does that, you're sort of an outcast.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And I was an outcast.
See, you know, and then now think about being that outcast. Think about what it took for you to learn how to cope with that and still overcome it and still follow your hobbies. And you know what I'm saying? We're needed the same way. I think we all kind of experience that.
Yeah.
So it hurts. You find a way to deal with it, but you're absolutely right. If we can like infuse that into more kids, that thinking, to where, you know, it's a bigger world. It's more than just it's more than just your homecoming. You know what I mean? It's bigger than that. Yeah.
Right.
Well, when I worked, I used to work at Savannah Riverside. So one of my colleagues, we went to elementary school and I think middle school together, and we were all in a group. And I kind of flipped it on him, is what I did. He was picking at me because when I was younger, I stayed in the house and studied. So I flipped it. I said, so you're picking at me because I was trying to further my education. Now I'm the bad guy, and look at you. I just flipped it on him, is what I did. So,
Yeah.
but it's more out there for kids too. Yeah. I tell you what, also, some of the smartest Black people in America are drug dealers. They're just selling the wrong product.
Right.
That's all they're doing. They're buying their product wholesale. They're marketing up retail. They have a distribution. That's business. But they're just selling the wrong product.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem.
Just weren't given. They weren't given an opportunity. Somebody's got to look at them like they're more than that. Selling those drugs and things aren't going to look for some bum off of the street or anything like that. That's really the bigger problem.
Or probably, not just
look at you like you weren't good enough.
Yeah.
Not just saying not given the opportunity, but they weren't guided to the right. So in the right direction, because I think like we're at some point we're going to have to create our own opportunities. We have to create our own avenues. I think that's 100%. What, right. Like the four of us have found ways to create, even though we might have gone into areas where there wasn't a lot of diversity. We created our own opportunities. We made our own avenues, and so there are people, like you said, that may choose not to do that, but are capable, so fully capable of doing it, but they choose not to. And so, that's, who do you blame on that? Ultimately, if it's accountability, you got to say, they made the choice. So.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of fear too in people in general to go after their goals and to pursue things and maybe be seen as different, because there is a lot of peer pressure. I mean, I know growing up, I was like, oh, you sound like you're, whatever. Like, that's just the way I speak. My home, we were taught to speak standard English, and people say, oh, you were on the news. That's how you learned to speak. I'm like, no, my mom, we had to enunciate. So I've always done that. Right. So, but I would get teased for that, but I didn't care. And I think there has to be an inner willingness and an inner motivation. I mean, it's like the X factor. You got to want it. I mean, I remember graduating from college and people were saying, oh, you can't start out in the Augusta market. You've got to go to a really small town. And I was like, no, I don't. I'm going to start here. I need a small town. I'm ready. And I did. I mean, I wasn't even it was never in me to doubt that I could do it, because I knew I could do it. But I do think their fear holds people back, low self-esteem. But if you can become, aware of that, like I can look at myself and go, okay, Renita, why are you need to work on this, or you haven't done this. And this is just through the course of my life, like being able to be look internally and to look at myself and analyze myself and understand the things that I need to work on. I think if you could, if especially young people, I know peer pressure is just a lot. But a lot of times, of course, they don't have the role models and people to support them. And that's kind of where they go off.
Yeah, they have to surround themselves with positive thinking people to push them in that direction. Now, it's not easy. I'm not going to sit here and lie and say it's easy. It's not, everything that we've accomplished, it wasn't given to us. We had to earn it. So, and I think the younger generation looks a lot for everything to be given to them. Not all of them, just there's some of them that's that way, but that's what we are.
You're right. There is sort of that trend towards things got to come easy, quickly. So that's tough for a lot of them to take a harder path, like and I'm not saying that we had the hardest, but I think like each generation it gets easy. Like my parents, my dad, my mom, that they had hard paths. My mom went to, she went to Allen University at the time, when, segregation was, she didn't have opportunity, she didn't have a massive opportunities. And I remember asking her, like, well, what is it that you want to do? She said, well, I wanted to actually, she wanted to go into journalism. She wanted to be a reporter, but she could only get her student loan paid by going into education, and that was her only avenue to get to school. So, if kids nowadays had to live in an environment like that with these limited options, these limited choices, and struggling, to even get small opportunities, I don't think they would make it. They're not conditioned for that. Everything's it comes easy. Everything's at the touch of a phone. Everything that at the pass be it in the microwave, it's just instant. Like I can have it. So that's a struggle for them. That we may not be preparing them in the right way. In school and education and some way.
Yeah, we try to make it easy for them just as parents because
right.
I can understand that. Yeah. Wow. But I'm a firm believer. I guess my wife say I'm kind of arrogant because I don't like working for nobody. Just sorry. I do not like it.
Okay,
That's just me personally.
And I like that you said that, but some people can't perceive. They can't even formulate a thought of like, I'm working for I've got to go work for somebody. I don't have what it takes to start my own or create my own. You know what I mean?
Chris, this is what I did. I'm just get this real quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I worked at Savannah Riverside. I started my company. I worked straight midnights at Savannah Riverside. When the guys went to play basketball, when we got off from work that morning, I went to build my business.
Yeah.
I kept my income and I built my business. And when I got my business where I could step away from it, that's when I left my full-time job. I wouldn't tell anybody to quit your job and go start a business,
right? Because
you still have a mortgage, you still have to eat, you still have kids. No, build it. And you don't have to share your plans with everybody.
Right.
So build it while you keep your job. And when you get to that point where it's you can sustain it, then you step away from your job. And you have to find somebody that is going to motivate you and believe, because you're going to have pitfalls.
Yes.
But you got to have that mentor there to help you, to show you. A lot of people, I'll tell you what somebody told me about Charles Walker. Connie, I don't know if Connie knows Charles Walker or not. But when Charles Walker was thriving, an older white guy told me, he said, go to Charles Walker. All you want to do is grease his wheel and let it turn. You don't want his money. You want to turn his wheel. And that was just someone to get me to the next level. And that's what I did.
Yeah. And Marty, I keep piggybacking off you because all of you are making great comments. The thing I think about too is networking is huge. Yeah, networking, it's really, sometimes it's just about luck, right? Being at the right time. I actually texted a former colleague, said, hey, my daughter just applied for a position here. Do you know anybody? She goes, yeah, I sure do. So even though she's applied, her resume is going to go directly to this person who's now going to put it in front of whoever, because that's how things, it's really about relationships, who you know.
It is.
Building that rapport. But I think oftentimes in our community, we don't have those connections, right?
Right.
A lot of people don't, which is why the connections that I do have, I use them to help however I can. Like I really want to be able to give back and help others.
Exactly.
And give them, it could be a phone call, an email, or just a conversation to pull somebody else up.
Yeah, exactly. I did that with Chris, but it didn't work out. Remember when I talked to you about your son? I can still get him in that door. There's no problem.
Well, I was going to say, but the fact that I could speak to him about the opportunity, what was great about that was sharing how my relationship with you, how it opens up doors, it opens up opportunities, helps you to prepare for something. So even though it didn't work out at that point, it prepared him for something. Like it said to him, this is a possibility. Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's sometimes all you need. Like man, I just really honestly believe like we as people, we as human beings, we're so powerful. And then it's like you said, Ronnie just said it too, you get that motivation, you get that confidence. All you need is if you've got that confidence where you're motivated, you can do it, man. If a door closes and you're motivated, you'll find another one. Right. You'll get there. Yeah.
And it sounds so cliche, but education is really the key.
It is. It really is.
Reading, understanding. That is really just, you've got to have that foundation. And without it, you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
What's that, Chris?
I said we don't like to do it. I mean, and you mentioned you don't read. I don't read. I have to force myself to read, but
Yeah, I don't read.
Like, and it's not necessarily like I gotta go and like read, a bunch of, do it yourself books or anything like. But just find
Yeah.
a book to invest yourself in. Like I was listening to a guy talk. He's like, there's so many people who have written like really good books on how to do it, or I did it this way, or my experience, my life story, and it's in there. You know what I mean? But we won't pick it up. We won't invest in it to just read it. They may be going through this, what you've gone through, but we won't invest in a book, and read it.
We all need to start an academy.
Huh?
We need to start an academy.
Well, I tell you, I don't read because I feel like I'm gonna miss something that I should be doing business wise. So I tell you what, I made a phone call. Actually, I made 2 phone calls the last couple of days. Some colleagues of mine that I know from playing golf. Another one I went through Savannah Riverside with. They have businesses, and I'm like, listen, I'm going to show you how you can get you a government contract. And I gave them the contact person, and I say, just listen to the guy. If it works out, do it. If it doesn't, you've lost nothing. But it's just the information that I have to share with them to help better them as far as, their household and economically and all. So I like sharing stuff like that with people. Just sharing my knowledge about stuff. I get more gratification out of that. So.
Connie, did you have something? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. And there are a couple times that you guys were talking about your kids and these ideals, and we're talking about. And I remember that for my daughter, young, and she's always gonna go to a hotel. That was traveling when she was 1, 2 years old.
Yeah.
She said, and so eventually we said, where else do you want to go, mommy? Where do you want to go? Want to go to Panama? Do you want to go to Japan? She's now a freshman and to school abroad, and this is while she's in high school. She wants to go, and I'd be down for it, and who knows how many times. But you guys were talking to about, and I told my husband, and I says, you know what, I'm able to not be able to do kids. I said, you guys need to be lawyers and judges. I said, because all the times where mommy and daddy got because we didn't have a connection. You guys can still be the creative people that you want to do, but it's really about. I said, mommy did what she wanted to do, and while I know a whole lot, mommy's. I said, your daddy's health and situations we have been screwed over because we did not have somebody that we could call. This is what you guys need to look at. And so now they're figuring out which one of those situations would be a good spot. And it's all just about the reasons why with these kids. They may not like this. But that doesn't mean that you're an audiobooker because I'm typically driving, but I can listen to it all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
You love audiobooks?
Yeah.
I need to consider that.
Yeah. I can do audiobooks. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah.
Audible is lovely.
Yeah,
it tracks what you're doing, everything.
That's it. I'm glad you mentioned that, Connie, about Dakota wanting to travel abroad and experience that. What I'd hope to see is like our generation as we've raised these kids, and we'll see what results we're going to get out of them. But what I'd like to see is like we were earlier talking about the Little Mermaid. Okay, so they've recast Little Mermaid with a black actress, great. But what would have been better? Just my opinion. Would have been even better is creating a whole new story with that.
I thought about that.
Black.
Thought about
you know what I'm saying? Like create your own story. You know, I
Right.
mean,
You don't need their acceptance. We don't need their
okay,
acceptance.
They have
okay,
more.
okay.
Yeah.
There you
Or
go.
do they?
That's what I think. Like anybody, I don't care who. I don't care. Black, white, Asian. What? Stop looking for that acceptance from this other group to tell you you're good enough. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I think a lot of times when like black people you get angry. Oh no, but okay, what do you? Why are you mad?
So
Why are you mad? Because they didn't recognize you as great. Screw them. Go create your own story.
but
Make your own
they
story.
it's a threat. What if yours is better than theirs? And that's the problem. What if
And
what if
that
your
that's where you get
what if your Tyler
held
Perry
back.
movie? Yeah, yeah. What if your Tyler Perry movie is better than their mermaid movie?
Yeah, Tyler
That's
Perry.
what they're
Right,
scared
right,
And
of.
that's how it
right,
That's
right.
and that's another things like that. And so now you have to get creative in your movie and how who's going to play your. That's where it requires the community because of those situations.
yeah.
You know, somebody
Yeah, but
worry,
your
or they
movie, your
automatically
story,
think that
your
you
project,
it's you.
your story may become the standard. You know what I mean? It may, instead
Yeah.
of
That's the
us looking
fear.
at, oh, we got to recreate the Little Mermaid. No, create
That's the fear.
another story. You know? Yeah. But even
Yeah.
even if it is that is their fear, get over it, get past that. You know, create just make it happen for yourself. One of I forget the interview they were talking about Lamar Jackson not having a contract. So talking about a sports figure. Lamar Jackson, quarterback for the Baltimore Ravens, not having his contract. And one who was saying it was Jalen Rose. He was talking about it. And
Yeah, he was Jalen Rose. That's all right.
Yeah, and he just said because Lamar is doing it his way. He didn't go hire an agent, and that agent
His mother's
gets
his
that
agent.
50%. Right. That he
His
didn't go
mother.
to a sports booking agency and hire this agency. That agency gets 15% of the money he makes that he sweats and works out for. They just cut 50% off because they represent him because they can get him a contract. He just hired his mother as his agent, and he's that good that he can drive the narrative. He's what I mean. If he doesn't get scared and back out, now he's playing it. He's gambling on himself because once you get hurt in the NFL, that's it. But I like the fact that he's confident enough to bet on himself to write his own story, and that's where I think a lot of us, instead of getting out of the finger pointing, this, you're that, you won't let me do this, you won't let me, create your own story. Right?
Exactly. Yeah. It's just that fear factor that they have.
Yeah.
It is a fear factor. Yes.
Yeah.
Dawn makes a good comment. She says, position yourself for maximum effectiveness for your family and your community. And then Angie, that's an excellent point. And then Angie says, y'all, there's a great show on PBS channel 254. If you have Xfinity, it's called The U.S. and the Holocaust. Or is it Us and the Holocaust? I'm sorry.
Probably U.S. is a cat.
Yeah, U.S. and the Holocaust.
Okay, U.S. and the Holocaust. It is talking about racism in the U.S. and the root of it. Ken Burns is the filmmaker, and he said in an interview that the audience he hopes to reach are the ones who are so void of compassion for the refugees fleeing communism. I can't see. Can you see any more? The rest of that comment? Anybody?
Yeah. They show Charlottesville and other things that are going on in the world now. And episode 2 is playing back to back until midnight, and episode 3 is on at 8 p.m. tomorrow. A lot of our discussion tonight reminded her of that second episode. So just really talking about the Holocaust and the racism that was going on in the United States during that. I think
I'm gonna have to add that to watching.
Yeah, I definitely want to check that out. Holocaust is definitely, as history has gone on, we've understood the tragedy of that, the tragedy of that, and and so we feel sympathy for those victims. But I think what she's saying in this documentary, at the time that it was going on, that sentiment wasn't necessarily the same thing, as what we feel now. God, again, growing up overseas, being in the military, like we were really close to that. Like a lot of my field trips, and that kind of goes back to what we've been making us travel. A lot of the field trips that were close to people like those types of things in history. So, you know,
Mhm.
it was good and bad, because coming back to the States, especially once you come out of that military system, you're at a civilian school, you start talking about things in that book, that places you've been to, and so now you're almost like, oh, you get that jealousy factor, and I'm like, we're not rich, just my dad happened to be overseas, and that stuff, like, we were living in those communities. So saw a lot of that. And the Holocaust, I think there's another documentary, I'll get the name of that one, about when they dropped another World War II documentary, when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Hiroshima.
That one is also very, very powerful. Again, it's sometimes when we're separated from people like that, we have a tendency to dehumanize them, and so when something tragic like that happens, we're not connected to it. We don't, we're not a part of it. So it's kind of almost like you miss the tragedy of it. So
Yeah.
So yeah, this has been awesome, man. Connie, go ahead.
No, you're good. I didn't have anything else yet. I think the main part that's just making sure that's not just us that is to our kids about other cultures, and making sure, because how we discussed earlier, how we feels awkward, and we force ourselves to be put into those situations. I don't consistently hear that same story from my white friends and my other and things like that. And so I think that's the all of us if we're going to change it.
So I have a question for Renita
Yeah.
and Almond Brown. Am I the only one that's having problems hearing Constance?
No, it's a little choppy.
Constance,
It's
let me tell
choppy.
you, Miss Constance, I think you have some great
Yes.
information, but I think I'm being cheated because I can't hear everything you're saying. You're
Yeah,
cheating me.
No, I'm mad. I don't.
You heard that.
That taught me. Okay, so I need to be talking like this.
It's just
It's
choppy.
like
Is it
the
working now?
word,
No.
yeah, it's like a delay or something.
Right. Yeah. Okay. And then when the delay
Yeah.
cuts on, you're talking over it. So it kind of, so it's like cutting out or something like that. But it's better. That's
Okay,
it's definitely
Chris,
better than the
we're
very
gonna have
first
to have a
time.
date because we're gonna set this up right. I'm sorry. We apologize.
Okay. Actually, it's
I
doing
just
better
think,
like that.
yeah, I just think you have so much information to share, Connie, and I can't hear it.
Yeah. Well, man.
I could try this again one more time. That our community can't, that is being forced to be I need my white friends. I need my Mexican friends, my other friends of other nationalities to be put in the same situations as our to be uncomfortable. The situation when you get invited to the black cook, it's gonna be a little, we're gonna learn some stuff, okay?
Yeah.
But it's like my daughter, she's got white friends, she's got Panamanian, and most best buddy is at least Mexican here. My daughter has also hair, blue-eyed best friend, and multiple times, and some where she's like, something's just not quite right. And what is that? Is it because you guys don't look this? There might be something else. We need to figure out what that thing. So that's the challenge all my people too. Not like me, but my other people that I know and are tired of seeing the world, that make yourself a little bit uncomfortable. Don't questions. Find you somebody that you can hold that conversation. Build up that again, because all of this stuff is work, living this work every day. Okay.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
well,
right.
man, it's been such an awesome conversation. Yeah, I appreciate all of you
What?
jumping
I
on.
thought we were just halfway. We're finished?
Well, yeah. Well, I
This
mean,
is
we're gonna
fun. This
wrap it
has
up.
been
If not,
great.
yeah, we could go for hours on it, but I gotta force us to cut off, man, so that we can get some sleep and all. But
And
We'll
that's
it's
do
been
it next
for
such
week.
a
sure.
yeah, it's been
Yeah.
such a good, powerful conversation. I mean, just to recap, we talked about the Brett Favre scandal going on, and we'll see what happens with that. Then
Yeah.
hopefully the people are brought to justice. But again, a situation where people who have it, the haves are stealing from the have-nots, which is weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it happens a lot. And then we talked about the Little Mermaid trailer and seeing black actors casted in white roles and versa, whatever. The more diversity, I would think we all agree, the more diversity that we see on TV, it really helps open up more avenues, and actually we can start to, people can in doing things that they maybe have a desire to do, but they just haven't seen representation in it.
Yeah.
And then creating your own avenue. So I really, really appreciate the comments that you guys have, the commentary you guys had, and the comments that have come into the box. Angie, thanks for recommending that documentary. So we're gonna close it out with kind of what you got for the week. What are you watching? What are you reading? What are you gonna do? And if nothing, just say I'm gonna sit on the couch and and watch TV or whatever. But this week, got all these homecomings going on here in Augusta. I'm a graduate of Glen Hills.
Be safe.
Yeah, exactly. So we all
Right.
love to get together. It's always such a good atmosphere, but it's been disheartening to see all of the violence, the gun violence that's been happening at the last few homecoming. So hopefully they get that under control. But I would just really ask the community to really pull together and protect it. Protect the fact that we can have these homecomings that are really elaborate, really great tailgating events that feel almost like a university atmosphere when you go to them. They're so much fun. It's something you look forward to every year. I just pray that our community protects that. So we got that coming up. I'll continue to keep reading, watching some stuff. If you're looking for something fun to watch on Netflix, I did watch this series. I think it's called Sex and Lies. It's really weird, kind of not weird, but just housewife who can't we had this conversation some weeks ago. Housewife who can't let go of ex and just got this ridiculous obsession with her ex. Yeah, oh man,
Where's headache? Where's headache?
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm waiting on him to get him to watch that so we can talk about that. So that's what's up. We'll probably finish watching that and some other stuff. But I'll turn it over to Ronnie. You probably keep doing some more golfing. What you got going on?
Well, I'm doing some golfing and working on some stuff with the business. I'm trying to tweak some things. So staying busy. That's what I'm doing. Trying to enjoy life and trying to relax a little bit. So my wife's going out of town, so that gives me some time to maybe catch a Braves game tomorrow or something. So I don't know.
Okay, cool. Yeah. All right, Connie, what's up?
So what remember I told you guys I have an audio book right now that is the magic of thinking big. I should have listened to had the book and I just literally dropped. So the magic of we're at a part in the
magic
book
of thinking big, right?
now we're
Okay, the magic of thinking big. Okay.
And he patient right now.
What was the second part of that? Oh, education.
He's talking about still pausing. The reading ambition. Oh, about women. Here, I'll hold it up for a little backwards, huh?
Yeah.
In there.
Okay.
I won't talk too much since I'm still for next time. I'm gonna get on with the kids and live chat.
Yeah, we'll work on it. Yeah. No problem. We'll work on it.
Okay.
Man. I appreciate that.
Sweet.
And Renita, go ahead and close us out. What's up for your week?
Yeah. So I started watching The Devil in Ohio on Netflix. And so people have been talking all about it, right, on Facebook. But let me tell y'all the funniest thing. So I'm into the second episode. It's a limited series, and this girl who, I don't want to give the storyline away, but she's been brought in by this family because she was found kind of just on the road, just lost and whatever. Anyway, she's at the dinner table and she's praying, and she's actually praying. She uses the word, and so we give thanks to the demon of something. And I turned the channel. I was like, I can't watch anymore. Yeah. I don't want to deal with any demons, but I heard it's really good. And then I'm also, another excellent series on Netflix is How to Change Your Mind. And it's about the history of psychedelics and how psychedelics and all of these things from the earth actually are, they have cured people of, mental illness and even cancer. And it opens up these portals in our brain to experience like the height of love. It's a wonderful series, but it talks about the history of psychedelics, how they're used, who's using them. A lot of history. I found it really fascinating. And then Dawn says, I need to start writing my book. And Dawn, I hear you.
Yes.
She's just giving a space open on her bookshelf for the only. Thank you. I want to do that. And I also like to thank her for the wonderful, her and Angie. They said that we are the epitome of mental wellness, insightfulness, and excellence. And she loves everything about it. She does miss the Toxic Avenger. His
of course.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we missed him tonight. But anyway, that's what I'm going to be finishing up. How to Change Your Mind. And just chilling this week. Yeah.
Awesome.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, fantastic, guys. I really, again, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate it. Thank you all for joining in. We get comments all throughout the week. I get messages in my inbox of people that may not comment watching, and they really, really appreciate the input. Some things that people have said during the show have just really resonated with them. So it's just all really helping people, that you may not even know. So I just thank you for taking the time out of your evening to join the show. Hope that you guys can do it again. And with that, go ahead, Brian.
Let me say one more thing.
Go ahead.
In respect of headache, shoot paper, not people. I stole it from him.
Oh man, that's awesome. That is awesome. So with that, ShelfSpace is gonna sign off. And
all right,
we'll see you guys next week. Thank you.
All right, y'all take care. Have a good week.
All right.
Please record your message. Please record your message. Please record your message.